All right, guys. So we are officially in the month of April, and April means a lot of different things to a lot of people. Some people get excited about springtime, maybe start going to the beach. But me personally, I get excited because it is officially draft month. Now, before I get into this draft preview for the Jaguars, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels, including the Lawnmower 4.0, which is LED lit. You can use it downstairs in a shower. It's very good stuff. Also, the Weed Whacker. You can use it right in between your nose to get all your nose and ear hairs out of you. It's awesome stuff. You guys can use my promo code down below, UCFJ, on Manscaped's website. Gets you 20% off any order of yours, as well as free shipping. So shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring today's video. Now, before I really get into the discussion about the draft, first we'll go ahead and go over the Jaguars draft picks. Now, the Jaguars had the worst record in the NFL in 2021, which granted us the number one pick in every single round of the NFL draft. So awesome stuff. Now, the Jaguars did receive some additional draft picks. In September of 2021, we traded away C.J. Henderson as well as pick number 144 in exchange for tight end Dan Arnold, as well as third-round pick number 70 overall from the Carolina Panthers. Also, we have pick number 157 dating back to the Ngakoue trade, which actually dates back to 2020. Also, pick number 188 overall for Sidney Jones from the Seattle Seahawks. We have pick number 197 from the Philadelphia Eagles for Gardner Minshew. Pick number 198 from the Pittsburgh Steelers for Joe Schobert, as well as pick number 235, Josh Oliver from the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Jaguars hold 12 total picks in the upcoming NFL draft, which is actually tied for the most with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, in 2021, the Jaguars had the first overall pick in a draft, and we were so freaking excited for it. We all knew the Jaguars were tanking, but in order to tank, you have to be near perfect at losing. And the Jaguars these last couple years have mastered the art of losing. And while the Jaguars usually skate by with 4, 5, 6 wins, the last couple years the Jaguars have been able to lock down the number one overall pick. In the 2021 draft, it was a great thing, but in the 2021 season, the Jaguars locked up the number one pick, and it was like, whoops. So the Jaguars have the number one pick in the 2022 NFL draft. And like I said, it was not ideal. And literally everything in 2021 went as bad as possible for the Jaguars. Really, outside of Trevor Lawrence getting injured, the 2021 season really could not have become any worse. Our first-round pick, Travis Etienne, got hurt before he even played a regular season game. Urban Meyer cemented himself as the worst head coach in NFL history. The worst. I mean, there was really no debating, in my opinion, that Trevor Lawrence at Urban Meyer, as many bad head coaches as there have been, there has never been someone that has been so disconnected with his own team, didn't know different players, didn't know guys around the league, did not care clearly with some of his off-field stuff and different things that are leaking out around the team. It was just terrible. And also just the playmakers for our quarterback were just bad. So everything's bad. Now, what did the Jaguars do since the 2021 season concluded? Obviously, Urban Meyer out the door, one and done. Couldn't even last a full season. So he's out. The Jaguars go out and hire Doug Peterson, which was nationally praised. It was a very good hire because the Jaguars went out there and bring in a head coach that was a Super Bowl champion just 4 years ago. He comes to a team that needs some major fixing. The Jaguars have a terrible culture, have a losing culture, have not won a lot, and it's just I think it's a pretty good situation for a head coach to be in, but it's also a tough situation to fix. It's a good situation. I say that because obviously Shad Khan will supply the resources to enable a person to do something, but you're not coming into a very stable situation. So Doug Peterson, obviously former Super Bowl champion, former quarterback, so we can really see the game through Trevor Lawrence's eyes. He's offensive minded and he's a player's coach. He's a guy that Doug Peterson's former players really like Doug Peterson, and we need a little bit more of that based on the last coach. And this is an Urban Meyer video, but he is kind of relevant right now when it comes to the state of where the Jaguars were in right now. Now, obviously, like I said, hire Doug Peterson. He turns over the whole entire coaching staff, brings in his own guys, new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, all that stuff. Now, the Jaguars went out in free agency, and saying that they made some noise is an understatement. The Jaguars spent some cash. $259 million spent in free agency, including $155 million of guaranteed money handed out. They signed all-pro right guard Brandon Sheriff, wide receivers Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, tight end Evan Ingram, linebacker Foye Oluokun, defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi, cornerback Darius Williams, and defensive end Arden Key. Those are 8 impact free agents the Jaguars bring into a roster that, they needed it. They needed it. If the Jaguars want to get better in 2022 and don't want to go by with another 4-13 season, they're going to have to bring in some veterans because the players on the roster, currently on the roster, are not going to be able to accelerate the win total for the Jaguars. So that was awesome. Now, the key, like when you go into this draft, man, the key to greatness in the NFL is to unlock the quarterback's potential. Trevor Lawrence, number 16. And last year, the Jaguars did not do a very good job when it comes to really setting Trevor Lawrence up in his rookie year. The only free agents they brought in to help out Trevor Lawrence was wide receiver Marvin Jones, running back Carlos Hyde, and tight end Chris Manhertz. And obviously they drafted some rookies like Etienne, who never got to play, and then Walker Little, who didn't get to play until late. They did not set Trevor Lawrence up in a great situation. Now, what are some things that the Jaguars need to address in this draft? The Jaguars obviously have several needs. Now, when I approach this draft, the way I approach it is we need to make sure that we are setting Trevor Lawrence up for success this year. And this was what I was echoing this time last year before we even brought in Trevor Lawrence. I said that when Trevor Lawrence comes in here, we need to make sure that he has the tools to succeed. And the Jaguars obviously did not do that from a roster standpoint and just a straight coaching standpoint. Yeah, the worst head coach of all time. That was not a good situation. So me going into this draft, I really want to make sure that we are doing right by him this year. And that starts with being able to find a wide receiver one. Being able to find a wide receiver one is very important because the Jaguars have a bunch of slot guys, it seems like. You sign Christian Kirk to a mega deal. He is best from the slot. You also have Evan Ingram, who's a tight end, but he's going to be playing from the slot a lot. You also have Laviska Shenault, who is not an outside guy. He is a slot guy. So outside of that, you have your guys like Marvin Jones and Zay Jones to play the outside, but we really need that impact wide receiver one, and you can find that, especially at pick number 33. There's going to be some wide receivers that go in the first round. There's probably going to be about 6, judging from a bunch of the mock drafts that I've seen. It's up to the Jaguars to be able to find their own guy. Now, these guys slip through all the time. I mean, they do. Devontae Adams was a second-round pick. Michael Thomas was a second-round pick. Cooper Kupp was a third-round pick. I mean, these guys are found. They're not always the number one wide receiver out there. They go all over the place. So Jaguars, the Trent Baalke, this staff needs to find that dominating alpha wide receiver one out there. And another thing, outside of wide receiver, the Jaguars just they need to find blue chip players. What do I mean by blue chip players? I mean players that turn into the top 5 best players at their position. Because in order to win a Super Bowl, in order to be a great team, you don't have to be perfect at every single position. You don't. But you need to have blue chip, top of the line players at their positions. I mean, you can be a little bit weak. Maybe your left guard isn't that great, but you have the best cornerback in the NFL. You have an elite quarterback, and look, maybe you don't have a very good defensive end on one side, but you have the best wide receiver in football. I mean, this kind of stuff. Like you need elite top 5 players at their position all over the field, and it could be anything. But the Jaguars, they need to start finding these guys, because guess what? You're not going to find them in free agency unless you do like the Dolphins did, where they make a major trade for Tyreek Hill, or like the Raiders did with Devontae Adams. You cannot find blue chip players just waiting to be signed out there in free agency. You have to get creative and find them on your own. So that's what really the Jaguars really need to do. They need to come up with a really good draft class. Now, the Jaguars obviously have the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and it is presumed that the Jaguars will be taking a big guy there. And by big guy, I mean like a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman. And most notably, the guy that I think the Jaguars are going to take is Aiden Hutchinson. I think the Jaguars are going to take him because that's what all the experts are telling me. If you look at these different mock drafts, Aiden Hutchinson is going number 1 in pretty much all of them. I'm not here to make an argument about, Kayvon Thibodeau should go number 1. Trayvon Walker, this, and that. I'm just displaying the facts that, look, I have this strong feeling that Aiden Hutchinson is going to go number 1, so I'm not really going to argue that too much. And I think Aiden Hutchinson will be a great player. I really do. 74 pressures last year. That's no joke. He was an absolute beast last year. So that's not something that should be taken lightly. So, obviously, number 1 overall pick, it seems like Aiden Hutchinson's going to go there. And then at pick number 33, everybody is wanting wide receiver. Now, if you want to go deeper into wide receivers that might be there at number 33, I wanted to make that video so bad. I actually released that video before I made this preview video. I released it a week ago, so you guys can go to the channel and check that one out if you guys want to hear more about receivers at number 33. But that's what it feels like the Jaguars need to do. Now, if I am going to discuss different needs of the Jaguars, and I'll probably go more in depth in this in another video. Like I said, we're 4 weeks until the NFL draft starts, so there's going to be a lot of time for draft talk, and I'm going to go over a lot of that. But some of the top needs are edge rusher. The Jaguars need to bring in another edge rusher, and I think they're going to do that pretty easily with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. And, nowadays, it's all about pass rushing duos, man. I mean, a lot of times it's not enough just to mention one pass rusher. It's what is the duo on that team. And one thing we know about Josh Allen, look, Josh Allen is a pretty good player, but he is at his best when there are other great players around him. I mean, he had double-digit sacks his rookie year, made a Pro Bowl his rookie year, but has not, since Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell have been off of the Jaguars, he has not been able to replicate that production. And bringing in another edge rusher, it really feels like that's going to be able to open up Josh Allen to do more, especially on pass rushing downs. So I think bringing in another edge rusher will be crucial, and in this case, it will probably be Aiden Hutchinson. Don't shoot me. That's probably what it's going to be. And obviously, like I stated earlier, wide receiver 1 is a huge need, and really just going out there and grabbing wide receivers. I wouldn't mind double dipping in this draft, going out and getting multiple, because the Jaguars are pretty much turning over the whole entire wide receiver room. Obviously, brought in Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, let DJ Chark walk. Laviska Shenault might be on the trade block. They brought in Evan Ingram. They are really just trying to bring in a whole new group of pass catchers. And, with Marvin Jones on his last year of his deal, there could be a 100% turnover in this wide receiver room from 2021 to 2023. So, and much like edge rusher, being able to grab a true outside wide receiver one that plays the X, that plays the Z. It's going to enable a guy like Christian Kirk to do even better. Like, the best thing he can do is have a true alpha out there and allow coverage to kind of get off of Christian Kirk, and that's going to let Christian Kirk sneak out there and do some big things. So, it's just such a big need, and what's concerning is I am not the only YouTuber for their team talking about needing wide receivers, because everybody in the NFL needs wide receivers, especially teams drafting right before us. The Chiefs just lost Tyreek Hill. The Green Bay Packers just lost Devontae Adams. We're not the only team that needs a wide receiver, and hopefully there's going to be. There's some wide receivers I feel comfortable at number 33. I stated that in the earlier video. You can check that one out, but that's huge. Bringing in wide receivers, bringing in pass catchers for Trevor Lawrence. And some more things. Jaguars need offensive linemen. Now, probably more so interior offensive linemen. The Jaguars at this point at tackle have Jawan Taylor, have Cam Robinson, and Walker Little. However, both Jawan Taylor and Cam Robinson are this contract years. Obviously, we keep franchise tagging Cam Robinson, but Jawan Taylor, it's his last year of his rookie deal. So we'll see what they do there. But Walker Little needs a starting spot on the offensive line in week 1 of 2022. And interior line is the big thing. Obviously, Brandon Sheriff, you signed him to a big deal. He's an all-pro, Pro Bowler. He's going to be locked in at right guard. But what do you do at the interior of the offensive line? Right now, it's looking like after Brandon Linder retired, it's going to look like Tyler Shatley will be starting at center, and most likely at this moment, either Ben Barch or Will Richardson will start at left guard. You can obviously upgrade there, and obviously with this, just grab some offensive linemen. You need offensive linemen every year, but continue to get better, at that spot. And I would expect probably offensive line around the 3rd round. Maybe even they double dip. Who knows? But also tight end is another big need. The Jaguars are good at tight end in 2022. However, Evan Ingram's on a 1-year deal, and Dan Arnold is going into his last year of his deal because he signed a 2-year deal with the Panthers before getting traded to the Jaguars. So at this moment, both those guys are gone next year. So tight end is a pretty big need if you're going to look ahead to 2023. And middle linebacker, we don't have a middle linebacker. Our starter last year, Damian Wilson, is now on the Carolina Panthers. So what do the Jaguars do at middle linebacker? Is it Shaq Quarterman? Does Dylan Moses come out after he spent the 2021 season on the IR, on a PUP list, whatever he was? Who knows? But I think the Jaguars have a plan there because they're obviously not frantically looking for anybody. So we'll see what the Jaguars need to do there. Now, finally, the Jaguars, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the Jaguars need to nail this draft. Look, we are out of mulligans when it comes to getting bad draft classes. I am tired of looking up the history of Jaguars draft classes. It is sad, and I don't need to sit here and repeat it. Every once in a while, you have a 2016 draft come along. Even a 2021 draft class looked pretty good. Every once in a while, you have those. But we have too many years where we're drafting, C.J. Henderson's in the first rounds, and Taven Bryan's in the first rounds, and Dante Fowler Jr.'s in the first rounds. And I didn't mean to name all these Florida guys, but man, we've had some bad drafts. We have to change that around because if we don't, we're going to keep sucking. We're going to keep having these just terrible years where the worst part of our week is having to watch these damn Jaguars. It sucks to say, but this should be our escape from the crazy world and how complicated life is, but it's not. It's becoming the most stressful part of our week, and it shouldn't be like that, and it will continue to be like that until the Jaguars start to do good in their drafting, because we can't afford just to go out there and sign crazy free agent signings every year. So need to nail this draft, and like I said earlier, but I'm going to end it on this. My personal draft strategy for the Jaguars would be to do right for Trevor Lawrence. You did not do right for him last year, and ultimately, Trevor Lawrence is going to determine how good our team is in the future. And if the Jaguars somehow mess this up and somehow do not surround Trevor Lawrence with talent to the point where he's not very good, or to the point where he leaves to go to another team and becomes good there, I don't know how I can ever be optimistic about the Jaguars ever again. For the first time ever, we get this, generational guy who has all the goods to be a great quarterback. All the scouts, all the analysts, everybody says this is the next best guy ever. And if the Jaguars somehow ruin that, I don't know. I don't know how I can ever be optimistic about this damn team again. So do right for Trevor. Go out there, get him wide receivers, get him tight ends, get him offensive linemen. Do whatever. Because look, I am not trying to make a Super Bowl run in 2022. I just want to win some damn games. 7-10? Oh my God, give me 7-10 right now. I just want to win some games. I want to see some exciting offense. Middle linebackers in need. Yeah, maybe we can use some more interior defensive linemen. I know that, but man, give me a fun offense. Give me great quarterback play. Give me awesome touchdowns. Give me all this stuff. That's what I want. That's what I want, and I think that's what most fans want. So my approach to this draft, do right for Trevor Lawrence. You did a lot for the defense in the 2021 offseason. 2022 offseason needs to be about making sure the long blonde-haired quarterback wearing the number 16 does great. Does great. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. But thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate it, guys. If you guys can, drop a like for me. Also, check out the Relevant app. Join the Jaguars Fanatics vibe over there. And also, check out Manscaped down below in the description. Use my promo code UCFJ for 20% off and free shipping. If you guys do that, it would help me out a ton, and I would greatly appreciate it. And with all that said, let me know how excited you guys are about the draft. Go Jags. And I'm out. You guys watched the whole video. Really appreciate that. You guys can subscribe to the channel for the best source of Jaguars news on the YouTube platform. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at UCF_Jaguar. And you can become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month for exclusive channel content. Thank you guys, and go Jags.